We lived on a farm in Belleville when I was about 7 years old. And I remember one night, late at night, it was like 4 in the morning. My mom comes into the room and wakes me up. Not my brothers Zed and Sybil, but me. And she says, "We've got to go to the barn." And I'm thinking, we've got to go to the barn? Why? So we go to the barn, and the sow is in labor, but she's in great pain because nothing's coming out. So I said, "What do you want me to do? Like, what do I do here?" She says, "Well, you've got to stick your arm in and pull these pigs out. You've got to turn their heads facing out, and then they've got to come out because she's grunting and groaning and nothing's coming out. She's stuck." I'm 7, and I'm thinking, I got to stick my arm in there and pull these piglets out. So I do it. I figured my mom's not going to lie to me. My hand's like this big, you know. I get in there. Sure enough, one pig comes out. No problem. I put my hand back in, another pig comes out, all the way until like 12 pigs come out. Then the sow's still grunting. I look at my mom, she says, "There's still more in there." I thought, oh my God. I pull out a 13th piglet. So now there's 13 piglets, but this sow has 12 teats. I'm thinking, how's this 13th piglet gonna feed? So my mom says, "That's not a problem. We'll take this one home and we'll put it in a box behind the stove, keep it warm, and we'll feed it like cow's milk. Just bottle feed it with cow's milk." And it lived and grew. So I figure this is my pet. Let's give it a name. What do I call it? Arnold. What else? You know, Green Acres. I become pretty close to this pig. It's like the pig that I saved. Arnold and I were inseparable. We were the best of buddies. And then one day, Dad comes in, looks at me, and he says, "Well, it's time to kill Arnold." And I'm thinking, well, Arnold's old, Arnold's sick. No big deal, I guess. So I go out to the barn with my dad, and I'm holding Arnold down by the ears. My dad thought he'd be cool and just shoot it in the head instead of slitting its throat. So he shoots it in the head, the pig lives. He shoots it in the head again. The pig gets up. It starts squealing, starts running around the backyard and out into the field. We have a 100-acre farm. My dad jumps into the pickup truck. My uncle was over at the time. They both jump in. They start following this pig around, shooting it. He must have pumped 14 bullets into the pig. They shot him all those times. Then we moved to the city, and we had pet rabbits, even in the city. And we loved this rabbit. We had one that we called Goldie, and we fed it, and it got fat, and it was something really cool for us. Then one day, we didn't see Goldie downstairs in the basement where she used to hang out, and the rabbit was not anywhere to be found. And we just said, "Ma, where's this rabbit? Where's the rabbit? Where's Goldie?" She goes, "Oh, we ate it last night for dinner." We thought, what? It freaked us out. I thought that was a pet. But then after a while, we started realizing this was happening with all the pets we thought were pets we'd bring home, like geese and ducks and chickens. My mom brought a chicken home once, I remember, and then one morning on our way to school, we were just ready to leave the house. We see my mom right at the bottom of the stairs in the basement, separating the head from the body of this chicken, and she couldn't even get it off. My dad had to help him. We're going, "What are you doing?" She says, "Well, we're having this for dinner tonight." We're thinking, oh my God. But at that time, I remember we had a cousin, Joe, who was a butcher. He used to come over and butcher the bigger animals for us, like sheep and calves and things like that. And it was like commonplace. It was no big deal. The stuff that used to hang from the joists in our basement, you wouldn't believe. It was just unreal. Well, I used to always love the drums, but I really wanted to start playing them when I was about 7, when I was physically capable of doing so. And Sybil, he had a set of drums, and every time I'd ask him if I could play the drums, but he'd say, well, you know, if you want to go down there, you can, but my monster will eat you up. And of course, you know, I didn't believe in monsters, nobody did, but, you know, being a kid, you're so easily influenced. And I just went and sat on his little stool and started banging away. And it's quite dark. There's one little light on in one end of the basement. But I've got enough light that I can see if somebody comes down those stairs. But there's another set of stairs way behind me at the other end. So Sybil sneaks down these stairs that I can't see, and I can't hear it because I'm wailing away at these drums. I'm having a great old time. And there are like 3 pillars about 15 feet apart. So he sneaks behind the first one. He slowly tiptoes to the next one, and he's slowly coming up towards me. All of a sudden, he comes out to the 3rd pillar. I still don't see him because he's at my back. He is now about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from me. He lets out this piercing howl. And after warning me about the monsters and everything, you know, my mind is thinking about monsters and thinking about if I'm, you know, attacked from behind by a dog. All of a sudden, you hear this wild dog's noise. I throw myself back. I hit my head against the concrete floor. I have a concussion. They rush me to the hospital. I can't sleep. I'm freaking. They give me tranquilizers to calm me down. My mom is a wreck. She's got to lull me to bed every night. I've had my light on for the next 15 years. I find I'm stuttering for the next 10. And I think my dad still believes to this day that that was the turning point of my life, where I went from this curious look, this normal look, to this completely glazed, trusting look.
Antonio, he always wanted to hang around with us guys, right? Every time we were doing something, he would show up, right? He'd always be there, and we'd never want him around. He just didn't fit in. We didn't want him around. He was agitating, right? So we told him we had a gang, right? We were just trying to get rid of him. We told him we had a gang, the Creeps.
It was like the Creeps and the Grips all put together, so we called it the Creeps. It was a pretty cool name back then. The Creeps were just a group of people. It was Zed, Sybil, and a couple of other people. And in order to join it, I guess you'd have to do something pretty mischievous, pretty daring, pretty dangerous, pretty crazy, because that's what they were. They were just a reckless bunch. They used to drink, steal, fight, anything to get in trouble.
We told him if you wanted to come around us, you were gonna have to do something to join this gang, right? Said we were a really bad gang and everything else, but he didn't care. He just wanted to belong, right? He'd do anything to get in with us, right? So one day at the side of the house, we had some gasoline. We told him if you wanted to be in our gang, you had to put a strip across the road.
I didn't want to do what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to light a street on fire. After about half an hour of coaxing back and forth, I just told them I'm not going to light Keel Street on fire. They wanted me to light a major intersection.
We didn't want to do that. That was coming down around the bend. We thought if we put a strip across there, if somebody ends up dying, then that's too severe, right? Because you don't coming down the bend there. You're coming on a bend. You're doing about 50, 60 kilometers, and there's a bend. Come into a wall of fire, right? You'll either just freak it out or fucking smack it into somebody's front lawn or whatever. Which probably would have made somebody fly over the island and kill somebody on the other side. So we told him, you can light up Green Acres. fucking Green Acres. We told him put a strip across there. He lays out a strip on the road, right? It's about a foot thick or whatever. We thought it'd only be about maybe, a couple of feet high, right? He throws the match. The fucking wall's like about 15 feet in the air. We all freak out.
We were really scared because apparently the fire department, the ambulance, and the police came. We got word from the owner of the corner house saying that 3 different emergency units came to see what the problem was. And they knew it was just arson. But had we have set the fire on Keel Street, people would have died, for sure.
Me and Zed were at the party, right? We were having a good time, right? Getting buzzed out, whatever else, right? So we were at this party out by the Bluffs. It was somewhere out in Ajax. We go for a walk, right? And Zed's in front of me, and he's wondering where the edge is, right? He sees there's like tall grass or whatever, and I told him, Zed, don't go too close or whatever, right? So Zed kept walking and whatever, and I'm behind him, right? I'm watching what he's doing, then all of a sudden, he fucking goes over the edge. Fuck, I'm wondering, he just disappeared on a third. He went fucking over the edge. He flew, I don't know, he just fucking disappeared. He ended up at the bottom. It was unbelievable. Nobody should have survived that. Fuck. I had to go all the way fucking around. I don't know how far I went down this escarpment. Fuck, I go down there and he's laying. His mouth is like halfway underwater. His fucking eyes were bulging out, right? I grabbed him. And he landed on the ground. He was all fucking racked up. Right? I swear to God. I pulled him up from there. Fuck, the guy was like limp like a dog, right? I pulled him up. Fucking told him I saved his life, right? I bring him up. If it wasn't for me, the guy would have been dead. I don't know what he was complaining about. But everybody was asking what happened to him. Fuck, I saved his life. I don't have to. He disappeared, right? But I think Zed had a different story. He was bent over. He didn't know if somebody nudged him. But he went to the hospital. He had, like, I don't know, his third vertebrae or something was chipped out of his back. Fuck, he's eaten a ton of pasta, man. I think that's what saved him.
The next morning, I get a call from Sybil saying, Zed's in the hospital. He fell off the bluffs. He almost died. The doctor said that he was lucky he made it. But I swear I didn't push him. Now, where that came from, I don't know. I never assumed that he did push him, but you never know with Sybil. Because he was kind of crazy. He was, like, liable to do something like that. He felt, like, guilty already.
And all I heard is these wise guys after say, fuck, she didn't push him, this and that. Fuck, of course I wouldn't have pushed the guy, man. I felt like that. Fuck.
To this day, nobody's really sure if Sybil pushed him or not. I have to admit, my brothers were doing a lot more drugs than I was in those days, but I kind of figured we could have all been dead at any given point. We used to go up north drinking and doing acid and smoking. I thought, I was kind of thankful to be alive. And then I started questioning why I'm alive and what we're doing here and how did we get here and what happens when we die. Later on, I met this man who was a Jehovah's Witness, and I asked him a bunch of questions about life and eternity, and every question I had for him, he always had an answer for them. And he said that the answers are all written in the Bible. And if you listen to and go by the laws of the Bible, you should probably live in eternity and be happy and healthy and never age. That made me feel very secure, and it made me feel like life wasn't a waste, which made me stop doing drugs and drinking in excess. And later on, I did enter the religion. And that's basically where we started to part our own ways. We were very close before that, and we kind of drifted apart. But I was never sorry for that.
A long time ago when I worked at Roundtree's, it was all the guys from Parkdale, the Junction, they all worked there, right? But I worked there with Zed. We would go there every night, me and Zed together. We'd drive to work. It was funny. We used to party, smoke, whatever. We'd be going crazy, right? But then Zed got transferred to afternoons, right? So I'd be on midnights. So every time I'd come home, I'd be laying on the couch. Zed would fucking, he'd put his ass right on my head and let one go, right? He'd fucking crank one on my head, like bare ass, right? So fucking, they'd do this to me every fucking day, because I was always so tired I was on midnights, right? The last job was with fucking Antonio. He put his ass right on my mouth and blew my cheeks. I swear to God, he blew my fucking cheeks right over. So the one night I catch Zed sleeping up in the living room up in my house, and my mom's on the couch. But I thought this is the only chance I got to nail him, right? I was awake, he was asleep. So I go there, I drop the pants, I'm right over his head, right? I thought, fuck, this is perfect. I let one go and it fucking sprays him. It fucking sprays him right in the head like a diarrhea fart. I gave it to him, but the force, it just sprayed out like a wow. His head looked like Gorbachev's head. There was just like a patch of shit on his head. I jump up, I look back, right? Mom wakes up, she goes, what did you do? Did you fucking shit on his head? I go, no, I don't know, right? So I just ran to the washroom. I grabbed toilet paper, I run back, right? Zed's still laying there, like half dazed, right? But he's awake now. I end up start rubbing his head. He wakes up and he goes, what's going on? What did you do? He goes, did you shit on my head? I go, I don't know, right? I just take off, I run, I hide in the washroom, right? He comes running after me, he says, I'm gonna fucking kill you, right? He's going nuts. So I ended up just staying there for about an hour, right? Calmed down, ended up going away. I freaked out, I just fucking took off. I was scared fucking shit. Me and Zed, we went cruising one night, right? And he decided to get into the rock, right? We were smoking it and, driving, going along the highway, pulling up side streets, this and that. And all of a sudden we circled back around. We're coming towards Wested Road. And as we're coming off the ramp, there's like 6 of them behind us. They're in unmarked, marked, all different things, right? And they pull us over on the ramp. Yeah, it was my van, but Zed was driving, and we switched drivers. He wanted to drive, so I could party while he's driving. So Zed gets in the driver's seat. And that's when the cops pull us over, and Zed's caught there, right? And when they get him, they grab him. He stutters a bit, right? They're asking him what he's doing, right? And they grab him right away. They start roughing him up, and the one cop said, I could throw you right onto the road right now, right onto the highway. They were gonna grab Zed, and the guy said, if you don't tell us what you were doing tonight, we'll throw you out into the traffic, and nobody will know nothing. And he was stuttering like crazy. And they took it out on him. So we get out, we both get out, and they have their guns pointed. We're at the back, right? They pull us to the back of the van, they handcuff us right away, put us in the car, and then they took us to the station. So we go into this room, and he's telling us drop our drawers, and I can hear Zed in the other room. He's singing like a canary, right? Telling exactly what we did and this and that, right? He's fucking singing like a canary, and I wasn't saying nothing. And I had some stuff down my pants. Fuck, there was probably like a 40-piece down my pants, right? We went to the station, and the guy made a strip search. He said, drop your pants, right? I said, okay. I just grabbed my underwear and I pulled it down, but I held the stuff in my underwear as I was pulling it down. And he said, bend over, whatever, too, right? But I put my underwear back up and that was it. I never found nothing.
In regards to Sybil, it's hard to talk about him. So much was based on who and what he was. You know, he was not only my brother, he was my friend, my confidant, and I trusted him. You know, I mean, like, you know, even back in the days when you know, I set up this thing about selling some hash. You know, it was a good thing. You know, I got a connection through the bikers and stuff, and product was good and the price was reasonable. Clientele was there. The bikers set it up, you know. Had a week to play. You pay Wednesdays and Sundays and you play again. Sybil, due to the fact he didn't have a license, he couldn't drive, so I had to make him do something, you know, to involve him so that I could justify why I was giving him so much money, you know. So I'd bring him along. Sybil would hold product. I held cash and drove. That way, if we got pulled over, you know, he would end up taking the pinch, but I'd have the money to get the lawyers and everything else and make it all right again, right? You know, and every time, you know, I guess we do, at one point, I guess we're doing about 3 keys a week. 3, maybe 4 on good weeks. No, it's about $5 grand, and all he had to do was sit there. Just sit there and hold the product. And everything was fine for the longest time, but Sybil had a little problem. I mean, we had both indulged at previous times, but it was usually by mutual consent. I don't know. I think back now, and I think maybe the drug got the better of him, but, you know, I mean, we're doing a little bit of the rock back then. That's what we called it, you know. Fraggle rock. It was freebasing cocaine in the early days. I know it's called crack these days. You know, and on occasion we'd make a little, you know, we'd have a good week and spend $300 or $400 on an evening session. Inevitably, I'd wake up guilty about it. Sybil, he didn't, you know, he had no conscience about it. Nothing bothered that guy, you know. I couldn't understand it. I guess that's why I was always in awe of him, because there was nothing that hurt him, or so it seemed. I knew death bothered him. But he would never talk about it, you know, even in our conversations. When I questioned him about certain things, it would always be a one-sided conversation. You know, a conversation where I would ask the questions and he would say, well, what do you want me to tell you? That kind of stuff, you know. Anyways, back to the business at hand. Yeah, so I set them all up, but I set the whole little process up, you know. It was a real sweet little, wonderful little operation, you know. Long days, $5 grand a week, though. That's not hard to take. But you get caught up in the lifestyle, you know. Easy money. Everything was beautiful. And he dissed me. He fucked me over real good, you know. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't until after the fact that I started to find out what happened, you know. It turns out that Sybil was walking down the street from where we live, and, you know, I'd come back with a stone or two, or a rock, you know, and I'd say, like, where you get that? And he said, oh, you know, somebody I know down the street had a little extra cash from my end, and I spent some money. And he wasn't spending money, man. Every time I gave him 7, he was taking 2. Every time he had a full one, in the long run, it ended up on every pound I sold. He had a QP going into his own coffers, never mind half the profits that I was giving him as well, just for sitting in a car and holding it. Next thing I know, we go out one afternoon to take care of a little business. I come back, and the guy who rented the room out downstairs to, I come back and he pissed himself. I was standing there looking at him going, John, what'd you do? I go, wet dream, what's going on? He said, they came, man. I said, what are you talking about? He said, 2 black guys. Through the door, boom, 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 don't play hero. And I never figured they rifled the room, $4,000 in cash and a kilo gone, man. I was up and out of that house so fast. I've never been so scared in my whole life. And it turns out, down the road, it all turned out because of Sybil. Down the road, shooting his mouth off, flashing the wads, showing the money, trading for rock to the Jamaicans, you know? So they knew we were playing the game. It was such a sweet little thing, and he mussed it all up. Just killed it. But Sybil did to me a lot, in a lot of ways over the years, you know? It wasn't only money, it was almost like, you know, it was like I could never give him enough. He always took what I gave him, and he never had a conscious state about it. It never bothered him. You know, and when what I was giving him wasn't enough, he wanted more. He wanted not only my heart, he wanted not only my pocketbook, he wanted my soul too. I don't know what his problem is, but he always played it out. Always to the extreme. And it was me always the one that paid for it. And in the long run, forgave him. And believed in him all over again. Started it all up, all over again. Nowadays, I don't see too much of him. I don't know, it's years ago now, but I think about it and I think, God, Zed, what were you thinking? You know, why? Give him all this opportunity, you should have known right off, but no, you believed in him. He was your calm in the storm. He was the lifeblood. He was the one you wanted to do it for. Not only for yourself. The pursuit of happiness. You know, you make it all work, and it's all there. And then somebody, the one you love and you trust most comes out, just punches it right in the nose. Thanks for helping me. Smack. So time passed, you know, with Sybil and I, and after that first incident, I don't know, the relationship was, for the most part, strained at best. I mean, I was always concerned, but I tried to keep my distance because, you know, I wanted to trust him, but I really didn't, you know. Anyways, you know, time passed, and I always believed, you know, to forgive and forget, I guess. And we became friends once again. The old relationship started up fresh and new. I knew that there was a distance between the whole thing with the money and the dope scenes, and I wasn't selling anymore. I was working, you know, doing the bar scene or whatever. But things changed, you know. I began to hear rumors about him. I was concerned, you know. I heard that he'd done the graduation thing. Started using the Jones and the junk, chasing the dragon, whatever. You know, and he always gave the appearance of being able to deal with it. I could do anything, you know. But I started to get concerned because I started noticing, you know, effects of intravenous drug use, you know. So I went to Antonio. And Antonio got a whole different route altogether, you know. He'd found God. I couldn't believe his answer. I was stunned. I was amazed by what he wanted me to do. Because as I didn't trust Sybil, Antonio didn't trust me. And he said, okay, you know, in order for me to do something about this, you gotta do 2 out of 3. And I said, well, what are you talking about, you know? And he says, well, you either gotta cut your hair, move back home, or come to the church. And here I was watching my brother Sybil, like, slowly lose his life, pickling himself, so to speak. And there was no way of touching him, you know, no way of talking him back out of the abyss. And Antonio, he was so adamant about what he felt and what he believed in, and his faith was so strong. it never ceased to freak me out, you know. Antonio's whole idea was this blind faith thing, you know, and I didn't realize it at first, but when he pulled it off, I was just astounded. We set up the meeting, you know, and there was myself and Sybil and Antonio, the three brothers, you know, and I would say, you know, Sybil, I'm real worried, you know, you gotta come and talk. Antonio will fix it, you know, make it right. And all along, Sybil's telling me, no, man, you're wrong. I'm not doing none of that shit. You know, I still smoking a cookie there, Zed, you know, still got your mind in the Fraggles. He was trying to play the cover-up game, I guess. Anyways, I finally got all three of us seated. Agreed to Antonio's demands. Antonio sat there and had the audacity and said, Sybil, tell me, are you using heroin? You look like you're not too well right at the moment. And Sybil stared him right down in the eye and said, no, I got a real bad flu at the moment, and I'm okay. And Antonio turned to me and said, see, Zed, I told you there was nothing to worry about. It's all okay. I'm gonna come to church on Sunday. And I looked at him incredulously, and I was astounded. I couldn't believe. And I said, what, that's it? Well, you asked me to give up my lifestyle and everything I believe in, you know, like to come to church, to move back home, all to help Sybil, and you turn around and say, nope, he's not. I confronted him, and Sybil wouldn't lie to me. I mean, come on. He's conning you, he's conning me, he's wired for sound. I don't know. It struck me dumb, I guess. It was like I was blind. I couldn't believe it. But I could see things that they couldn't see. I don't know how they could not see it. And I was sitting there pleading with them. Like, I mean, come on, you gotta help me here. And there was Sybil, wired out of his bean, smiling away. And I knew when Antonio was blinded by his own faith and something we all couldn't see, and he couldn't see what I knew to be a reality. And he just couldn't see it. And it was gone, man. It was gone. It was over. It was done. And I was caught up in this whole world, you know. And I think it really disappointed Antonio, right? You know, and I tried with all my heart to be what he wanted. And I went to the meetings, and I felt the pain of our Savior and all of that stuff. But when it came right down to it, you know, and I got in the pool, and the minister was standing there saying, in the name of the Father and the Son. And I said, wait a minute. And in front of my family, and Antonio most of all, I got up and left the pool. You know, and all I could think of was Sybil sitting there whacking away. What was he doing? $500–600 a day. Use the product to make the product to support the habit. Live the lifestyle. Meanwhile, he was selling his soul. But that's all there was, you know. I watched him one time. We went to a party, you know, after all this kind of crap ended. And there was a bunch of people, you know, and I throughout the years I'd seen numerous people of high school and stuff that they lost it on that junk. Funerals that I'd attended, and I always thought it was weird, you know. We'd go to the funeral, somebody had died from an overdose or something, and you know, and how did they celebrate the death? They'd all go back to somebody's house and have the wake, and everybody would end up doing junk. And the fits would come out, and everybody would sit around. And somebody do too big a whack, and, you know, be laying on their back in dreamland. Somebody be pounding on their chest trying to make them breathe. Because their mind was so screwed up it forgot to breathe. I saw Sybil do that one day. It scared the hell out of me. You know, we're at this party, and there was a bunch of people there, you know, and I had gone to them, you know, and I'd even, you know, I tried to fit in the whole trip and ended up trying it out myself after a rock and everything else. You think, God, you think I'd know better. But nothing seemed to work, so I figured, you know, well, can't beat them, join them. Maybe I'll find out from the other side. And I got high, and Sybil had been drinking all day, and he was an arrogant shit. That's what he always had, you know, this arrogance. Nothing could hurt him. Anyways, we're at this party, and he does a big whack. Next thing I know, he's blue on the floor. Somebody's saying, call the ambulance, and there's me. Caught between a rock and a hard place, between Antonio and Sybil, living both sides of the world. saying, no, don't call the ambulance. Let's bring him around. I bring the cops and the ambulance here. We're gonna have hell coming down on us. No. Pounding on his chest and giving him mouth to mouth. And massage his heart, Pull him in the shower and bring him back around and bring him to life. Get him breathing again. His eyes flutter open and he pukes in the toilet and looks at me and says, "Hey, Zed, what's going on?" That was a big one, wasn't it? And I think back now, and it was those times. It was those times that brought us the closest together. And I often wonder about Sybil. Where we going, where we been. Shit happens, I guess. It's hard to talk about sometimes, but I guess I've been on the meth program since about last August. Yeah, when I started, they start you off around 40 mils, and it wouldn't work the first night I got it. The first day I got it, I was like in so severe withdrawals. I mean, God, I would have raked heaven's ass for a hit, And as it was, I went down to the clinic and they gave me the standard 40 mils to start, and went home. I didn't get high. My veins were still screaming, so to speak, and Sybil was sitting there and he had a package, and I'd supported his habit for so long, and I was like, well, give me half. And he says, no, and he got all mad at me. He got all mad and he wouldn't give me any, and then finally, I guess out of guilt, he gave me some. I ended up getting a little bit of a buzz, but it took the sickness away. That was the main thing, And time passes, the next day I went to the clinic again, and I went up to 50. And they keep pumping you up until you reach like a level of a pinnacle, so to speak, and you get high on the mouth. And you're high and you get a nod and everything's fine, right? And you function. Eventually, your body levels off. And you no longer feel the high, but you no longer feel the sickness of withdrawal either. That's the thing about junk and meth. I mean, you could do 90 mils of meth one day and do 80 the next day and not feel the difference. But if you did $90 worth of heroin one day and $50 the next day, it isn't maintenance anymore. You're still going to get sick because you're not reaching your level. You're not reaching your peak. That's why they put you on the program in the first place. Nowadays, I'm down to about 15 mils. And it's been a long ride, I've been good. No opiates other than the methadone, no Percodans, no junk. Not even a little sniffle here and there. I mean, way back when it started, it was just fun, Sybil and I, heroin for Halloween. It was funny, And get high and stoned. And we weren't so stoned that we got a nod, but we were stoned enough to laugh, Felt like you're a goddamn Superman. There wasn't nothing you couldn't do. Kind of had a adverse effect on me, even though it was like a downer. It seemed to empower me, made me strong, I mean, my house was clean, all the dishes were done, and laundry was done. Everything was done, and then there was the whole day laying out before me, and wish to hustle and make money and do whatever it needed to be done. Look for work. Whatever. Even go to work. You could function as a junkie as long as you had it, you could do what they called maintenance. But the meth program, it was working for me, Sybil was on a different tangent. He went up to an aunt's and he went cold, went through 3 days of hell and came back down and would go up and down like a goddamn yo-yo. I couldn't do that. I couldn't handle the sickness. It was horrible to experience. Your knees, it hurt. Your elbows and your fingers. And you couldn't sit still. And you couldn't get comfortable and you couldn't sleep. So the meth was good for me in that way. But it's been a year now and I hate it. I hate it. It's like a ball and chain thing, every morning you want to use it. And life becomes boring without it. So, I guess that's the trick. Or the lie, whatever way you see it. You gotta reach that point, You gotta reach it, or you gotta want to reach that point. So you try to get off. The future's not looking too bad. It's not bleak anymore. I don't need to run around like a chicken with a head cut off looking for a dealer. To get that fix, you know. To stop the veins from screaming, to stop the heart from pounding, to stop the panic. To be able to relax and go, and just take it all in stride. God help him. God help us. At one point, you gotta stop or it'll kill you. Plain and simple. I don't know, just to give an example of how things worked and what the drug does, you know. I got the point, I was on the program and everything was going well. Sybil was still using, and we had this place, you know, and I was saying, you know, we had agreed that we needed a bigger space. But, you know, I stipulated this rule. I said, okay, listen, if we're going to continue this, the dope's got to go. It can't be in the house because it'll influence me. You don't understand. It's like way back when, Sybil, when we were doing a rock, you know. If I knew you had rock in the bedroom, I'd be in there, like, you know, I'd be in there. I could sit out there for 20 minutes and not touch it, not think about it, but it would be eating at me. And it's the same with this one. It's the same. If I know you're using in there and you got a fitful sticking out of your vein, regardless of my program or not, I'm going to go in there. And Sybil just said, no, what I do in my room is my business, you know. You won't even know. Zed, it'll be fine. You will not even know. Sybil, it's not like that. I will know. How can I not know? And I said, well, if that's what your plan is, then we should just stop here and you should just pack up your stuff and get out. I'm not going back. You know, I'm on the program and I'm going to make the program work. Blood's thicker than water, but I can't have you in my life, you know, if that's what it takes, sorry. And I'm telling you to get out of my life because you don't want to give that up. Hey, this is your call now. You want to be a part of my life? Give it up. I have, and I'm going this route. And if you can't, well, that's fine. You go down the other road, and maybe we'll meet at the end. You know, after all was said and done, and we'd come to this point, and, you know, Sybil's no longer living with me, and I got my own place. I say, well, you know, come over for dinner, and I you know, re-warn him, no dope in the house. And he says, yeah. So he gets there, and I can see that he's high. And I said, okay, fine, you're high, got nothing on you, right? And he says, yeah, no problem. Next thing I know, Buddy's at the door. And Sybil does the score, and I say, well, fine, you know, you're going to do the score, take it out of here, go do it someplace else, don't do it at my place. And he's like, yeah, okay, no problem, Zed, no problem. And I said, okay, fine. I see Sybil head to the bathroom while I'm on the phone, and I can't really answer because I'm in the midst of a social kind of thing, you know. And 20 minutes go by, and I hang out the phone, I'm cooking dinner, and Sybil's still not out of the bathroom. And I go in there, and there he is, you know. He's got a full fit hanging out of his arm. He's halfway through his main line, and he's doing it. He's doing it in my house. He had no respect for what anything I said. You know, it was all like in one ear and out the other. It's like my own brother. And I looked at him and I said, like, what are you doing? And he just kind of shrugged, you know, and I told him, you gotta go. You gotta go, and you gotta go now. It's almost like he didn't, you know, it's almost like he didn't believe what I was saying. Like I wasn't serious. He got mad at me for telling him to get the fuck out of my house. And he could not believe what I was saying, and I explained to him over and over. It's like, did you not hear what I said? What, you think this is all a joke? This is for real. You stay the fuck, you're gonna do that? You stay away from me, man. You don't bring it into my home. They don't come around. He's vicious. Vicious. Think you want to cut yourself with a razor blade, you know, one of those guys. It's been so many years now. So much water under the bridge between Sybil and myself. You know, despite all the fact of all the things that he's done to me. Man, I know he didn't mean them. You know, and underneath, and I guess that's what always kept me hanging on, you know. I knew there was a heart there. There was a side to him that I knew. I knew like I knew the back of my hand. And it made me hang on. And believe in him and think and question him and piss him off and everything else. Even that he would beat me because he didn't like what I had to say. But you know, he's there in my heart, or at least that side of him. You know, I mean, many times I thought between me and Sybil there was a good chance we were lost. But I guess I always got to give him credit. He always stood by me, no matter how many times I was wrong, or I was angry or pissed off at him for his ineptitude. He's still Sybil. Still the same Sybil I always knew. You know, that's what it takes. I forgive him again and again. He's my brother. How can I not? Blood's thicker than water. But he's a miserable prick. He's done some nasty things to me. But I love him. You know, I think he realizes about himself, that he knows. That's why he keeps coming back. He keeps coming back and knocking on the same door, asking forgiveness, and you know, and that's where it lies. That's where it lies. That's where he knows that I'm right. And he knows, and it hurts him. It hurts him bad, right? And he strives for that friendship again, the friendship we had as kids, when everything was A-okay. And he kills me with his smile. And how do you say no to that? How do you say no to please? He doesn't say it in words. It's like, hey Zed, what's going on? Wanna go for a beer? And it all starts again. You know, sometimes, you know, you finally come to the end of that road. You find yourself standing there and you're the only one looking at yourself in the mirror. You just begin to say enough's enough. I have a buddy of mine. Yeah, his dad owns property down in Costa Rica in Central America. And he's invited me to come down there, and I've thought long and hard. And you know, even after all the nightmares are over, you know, and the drug debts have been paid, and the junk's gone, and the program's over, and everything else, well, then there's all the legal stuff to face. Man, I don't know if I just got that in me anymore. I'm tired. I'm so tired. Fed up. There's a part of me that just wants to hop on that plane, or hop in that car or boat, whatever, and just get out of here. I mean, sure, it's hard to leave friends and family. But my brothers are all, I don't know, maybe the bond's not quite as strong. It's something I definitely think about. Costa Rica. Yeah, mountains, tourists, sailboats, and deep sea fishing. It's a life for me. So we look for bright horizons, better days. I guess when you finally get to the bottom, there's only one way to go, and that's up. But here at home, there is really no up, because there's just another mountain to climb, and I'm tired of eating humble pie. I've had enough. And just take a deep, deep breath and slow right down. I don't know, it's a big step. But God, compared to half the decisions I've made in my life, it can't be that difficult. I'd rather deal with hurricanes and bad weather than drug runners and guns. You know, since I gave up on everything else, although the physical part's over now, the emotional and the psychological, intrigues and everything, and depression and all of that stuff, it catches me unawares and comes in waves. I don't know, like tidal waves. It just splashes over me and I'm just drenched. It's like grief. You know, it's like losing my brothers all over again. And I don't know how to shut it off, and it just comes. But I don't want to go back to the drugs. I want to find a new drug out of life. Something easy, more simpler. Costa Rica.